The wok we're going to cook with here is an authentic hand-hammered wok from the People's Republic of China. And when you think about it, who should know more about woks and Chinese cooking than the Chinese? These woks are all made by hand. They're made from low-carbon steel, which is very like the iron we use in those old iron skillets of ours. Now, the meal we're going to cook here is going to consist of 1 meat and 4 vegetables. But remember, in a wok, you can cook any kind of food you like. The secret of the Chinese style of cooking is really just the very high temperatures we cook at, and also having a pan built to withstand them. Now, it really doesn't matter whether you cook on gas or cook on electric. If you cook on electric, though, always use the smallest burner you have. If you use a large burner, you're going to heat up this part of the wok, and really you don't want to do that. All you want to do is to heat that little bit at the bottom, the bit that hits the burner, and the wok will take care of the rest for you. Now, we're going to start off by stir-frying a mixture of onions and peppers. And to fry, we're going to use a little bit of oil. Now, the choice of oil we use in the wok is very, very important because of those high cooking temperatures. You need an oil which is not going to smoke at too low a temperature. You need an oil without a strong flavor of its own, so it won't spoil the flavor of the food we're cooking. I'm using peanut oil, which really is the best, but if there's some reason you can't use it, you can get away with corn oil, cottonseed oil, soybean oil, or safflower oil. Any one of those 5 oils will do. But just as important as the oils you can use are the ones you really shouldn't use. Because of those high cooking temperatures, you must avoid oils with a low flash point, oils which burn and smoke too easily. Olive oil, sesame oil, butter, margarine, and regular vegetable oil. Now, you can use those for flavorings or seasonings to be added at the end of the cooking process, but not for actual stir-fry because the wok just gets too hot for them. Now, the utensil I'm using is called a chan, C-H-A-N. The Chinese use this for stir-fry, and it does an excellent job. You can call it a spatula if you like. Now, it's a little bit different from the spatulas we're used to. Our spatulas tend to be square across the end. The Chinese one is rounded. This is round because the wok is round. It's designed to fit the contour of the wok. And if you use it this way for holding food to the side, it will hold the food, but also allow any liquids we have to return to the middle. Now, you will see as the cooking goes on that every little thing to do with the wok and its utensils have all been very carefully thought out. And we don't cook the onions too much at this stage, just until they start to turn transparent. So for our purposes, those onions are ready now. We'll just pull those up the side of the wok out of the way. Now remember, in a wok when you stir fry, you only cook in the bottom. We use the sides of the wok for keeping the food warm. Notice the way the food tries to stay to the side. Notice the way the liquids drain and collect in the middle. Now that's a very important part of wok cooking, and I will explain all that to you in just a few moments. But what we're going to do firstly is to cook some meat in the onion juice. The onion juice will serve to tenderize the meat. It will break down the fiber of the meat. In a wok, there should be no such thing as tough meat. Now, you can cook any kind of meat, any kind of fish or poultry, but don't rush out and buy the most expensive cuts of meat like filet mignon. You will find the cheaper cuts of meat have usually got the better flavor, and that's why stingy people like woks. Now, my boss is stingy as well, and that's why you don't get much meat. Now, you may have noticed there's a big trend towards Chinese cooking at this time. I think the only people not following that trend are my Chinese friends, and they're all eating in McDonald's and Burger King. So you've probably been around the stores and seen there are lots and lots of woks to choose from. Stainless steel woks are the prettiest, but they were very, very hard to heat up. Stainless steel is not a good conductor of heat, and you have to use a lot of oil with stainless steel to stop your food from sticking. Machine-made woks are usually too thin. If you have a wok already and it's constantly burning your food, it's just because it's too thin. Electric woks, well, electric woks have all got thermostats to control the heat. Now, thermostats switch on and off all the time. Your heat goes up and down all the time, and you do not get the precise and constant high temperature required for wok cooking. And while I've been talking to you, I've been browning or sealing the meat, and now we've done that, we can safely season it. Now, you'll find that Chinese people use very little salt in their cooking. They do use some, but not an awful lot. Now, whatever salt we need here, we can get from our various sources. This recipe calls for soy sauce, and you can use anybody's soy sauce you like. Now, I'm using Kikkoman's because I like it, and it's my kitchen. I can use anything I like. If you feel happier with a brand name you recognize, Lak Choy, Chungking, Tailing, one of those will do. Now, if we were cooking this same meal at home, or if I were following the recipe like I really should be doing, what we must do now is to take the onions and the meat right out of the wok. Remember, in Chinese cooking, you're forever taking stuff out and then putting it all back in again at the end. But to keep us all from standing here too long today, let's just leave the food up there warming. Once again, notice the way the food stays to the side. Notice the way the liquids drain and collect in the middle. A very important part of wok cooking. Now, we'll explain all that to you in just a few moments. Now I'm going to add some plain cold water now because we're going to do some steaming. Now this is not something you'll probably do every day. It's just really to show you that in a wok not only can you stir fry, but you can also steam. In fact, you can bake, boil, roast, and deep fry as well. We sell a lot of woks to vegetarians. They just seem to like the way those steamed vegetables turn out. So we're going to steam a little bit of celery. We'll put that in there first. We're going to add a little bit of broccoli for variety. We'll throw a few slices of the carrot in just to break up the green color. The food not only has to taste good, it also has to look good. Now, if you want to use frozen vegetables, well, you could certainly steam those. If you want to mix the vegetables together, you can do that as well. Remember, because we're steaming and not boiling or frying, there'll be no mingling of flavor. So no more oil, no more frying. You saw me put the water in. The water will do the steaming for us. We're going to put the lid on the top in just a moment. Now, the lid we call a time dome because it tells us when the food is ready. What we try not to do in the wok is play peekaboo cooking. Don't keep lifting the lid all the time and checking on progress. Each time you do that, that's going to add to your cooking time. Remember, the whole idea of wok cooking is to get it over and done with as quickly as possible. Many years ago when it all started, Chinese people just didn't have a lot of fuel to cook with, so things had to be done quickly. They really didn't have a choice in about it. Anyway, it won't take very long. While it's cooking, let me explain a couple of important points about the techniques of wok cooking and also a little bit about the wok it's cooking in. First of all, what makes this wok so very different from the ones you've seen before? Well, remember, this is the original. This is the way woks always used to be. It's an authentic, hand-hammered wok from the People's Republic of China. If you've eaten in a Chinese restaurant, your meal was cooked in a wok, made exactly like this one. A little bit bigger, but made in the same way. Now, these woks are all made by hand. They're made from low-carbon steel, which is very like the iron we use in those old iron skillets of ours. Now, it takes quite a while to make each one of these. It starts off as a flat disc of metal, which they put into a wooden mold, and they simply pound it into shape with a hammer. Now, making it this way, the whole wok turns out the way it's supposed to. The bottom of the wok where we cook, where the intense heat is concentrated. Down here, it's purposely made 3 times thicker than it is up there at the top. See, up here, we don't need any thickness of metal. That's just there to keep the food warm. But more importantly, I'm sure you can see from where you are, inside the wok, the indentations, the marks from the hammering have been left in there. Now, it is those hammer marks which are helping to hold the food up to the side, but still allowing the liquids to drain and collect in the middle. And that's a very important part of wok cooking. If that were any smooth-sided wok, your food would just slide right back down to the middle again, and of course, that defeats the whole purpose. Now, all good woks come with a dome. The dome converts into a steamer, a Dutch oven, a popcorn maker, and a chicken fryer. It also comes with a ring. Now, we don't use the ring on electric burners, barbecue grills, or Corningware stoves. You could die of malnutrition waiting for your wok to get hot. It will never get hot enough to use properly. If you use it on a gas burner, be very, very careful. Now, many people tell you to do this, but they really don't understand that on modern American appliances, there's a real danger of the heat getting trapped inside there. I've seen many stovetops discolor really badly with the heat. And you know, the truth is, in this country, you really don't need it. What it's best used for is just to steady the wok on the rough surface of a wood or coal fire. Many Asian people still call this a fire ring. It does, of course, come with a book called Wok Cooking for Beginners. It tells you how to season the wok, how to look after it, and there are 40 recipes in there to get you started. But you know, the best thing about woks, once you get used to them, are all the different things you can do with them. Now, here are some great ideas to try at home. Let's take this ring, which we can't think of much else to do with at the moment, and put it inside the wok. Well, why not? Pour some water in there. Line up some ears of corn across the ring and steam the corn for 15 to 20 minutes rather than boil it. Now, you'll find steamed corn delicious. It's much better for you than boiled, just like steamed vegetables. If anyone at home likes popcorn, now that's real Chinese. Put the kernels and the oil into the middle, put the dome on the top again, put it on to the highest heat you've got, give it a good shake up. One of the best and biggest popcorn makers you've used at home. You know, you can scramble eggs in there, poach eggs, eggs and bacon, omelets and crepes, cooked fish, spaghetti and spaghetti sauce, soup, stews and casseroles. Barbecue time. Try this on your outside burner. Put it right onto the hot coals or on the grill. With the ring inside again, instead of water this time, pour a can and a half of beer in there. You are allowed to do that if you're 21 and over. Put a slab of ribs across the ring. Steam the ribs in the beer for 20 minutes before you barbecue them. Now, the beer will tenderize the meat. You'll find the flavor delicious, and any gravy you've got left, you can just mix up with your barbecue sauce. You are only limited to what you can do with the wok by the limits of your own imagination. It's one of the most versatile and useful pieces of the kitchen equipment you'll probably use, and it's only taken 3,000 years to find it. Now, the utensils are also interesting. One lady thought they looked primitive. Well, they most certainly do, but these are handmade in China, and I promise you they'll never wear out. But that's the chan for stir fry. That's the ladle for soup, stews, and rice. And look at the shape of the ladle. It's designed to be used in conjunction with the chan. The two fit inside each other for picking things up and serving. 3,000 years of thought there as well. The strainer is made from brass, which is a cold metal. It dissipates heat quickly. Use that when you're deep frying. The oil will cling to the cool metal rather than to your hot food. Now that's a good idea. And the bamboo brush, that's a Chinese Brillo pad. We use this for cleaning the wok, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. All weight-watching organizations recommend wok cooking. You see, in a wok, you just don't get all those nasty calories, but you still retain all the nutrition and all the vitamin value. And let's be honest, in our own kitchens, we really do boil our vegetables far too much. It's not our fault. It's the way we're brought up. We boil the color out of them. We throw the best bits down the drain, and then we go down to the drugstore, and we buy pills to replace what we just threw down the drain. Now, my vegetables are ready now. They're always ready when I stop talking. Now, in your own kitchen, what you look for are wisps of steam, and they will eventually come up around the whole circumference of the dome. Remember, at this stage, though, they're slightly underdone because that's just the way Chinese people like them. What I'd like you to do now, though, is have a look at the color of the vegetables. Look at the green vegetables. They really have taken on a nice dark and healthy and really rich shade of green. The carrot there looks like it has a light behind it. You can tell just by looking. All the goodness, all the vitamins, and all the nutrition that were there at the start have not been lost. Now, there's a good-sized meal in there, and you know, even at today's high prices, and I shop retail just the same as you do, that probably cost me somewhere between about 70 and 80 cents. You can't even get a good cup of coffee for that price nowadays. Not only is a wok very, very quick, but because of the very high vegetable content, it's always very economical. And we were talking before about the many, many advantages that the hand-hammered wok has over all the imitation woks on the market. Now there's one you can clearly see. The way the wok will hold the food to the side but still allow the liquids to drain and collect in the middle. But more important than the one you can see is the one you can't see. And that's the ability of this wok to cook at such very high temperatures but without burning or scorching your food. And remember, the whole idea, the whole secret to the art of Chinese cooking are those high cooking temperatures. They seal the flavor in the food, they give you that authentic taste. And only with a good, heavy, hand-hammered iron wok can you do that successfully. Well, we're going to thicken up the gravy now with a little bit of cornstarch and water. If you don't like cornstarch, you can use arrowroot, regular flour, sweet potato flour, or nothing at all if you don't want to. If you want to add a little bit of wine at this stage, add a little bit of wine. If you want to add a lot of wine, add a lot of wine. When it's your wok and it's your kitchen, you can just about do anything you like. So there's my gravy made, and that wasn't very difficult. Now, if you can imagine coming home from work one day, maybe you've been out shopping all day, or perhaps you've just been out all day. You arrive home tired, weary, and hungry. Your legs ache, your bones ache. If you've had kids with you all day, you might even find your brain aches as well. The last thing you want to do is mess about with pots and pans for an hour. Use the wok. Now, the wok is ideal for leftovers. You don't have to be a gourmet cook to use a wok. Now, you've been watching me. There's nothing very complicated about anything we've done so far. This is one of the few forms of cooking I'm aware of where the skill lies in the pan and not in the cook, and nobody ever knows, thank goodness. Now remember, to cook this same meal at home, you'll need a skillet for the meat, 3 pots and pans for the vegetables, 4 burners going at 20 minutes a time. That's an hour and 20 minutes of very expensive energy, and just think of all the cleaning up. Here we got the same meal, 1 wok, 1 burner. It's taken 5 or 6 minutes, and we've only got 1 pot to clean. If nothing else convinces you that a wok will be a useful addition to your kitchen, this part certainly will the cleaning up. Because all you need to get that wok clean at home is hot water right out of the tap and the bamboo brush. You'll find them so easy to clean. Just like those old iron skillets a lot of us are used to and still using at home, once you season or cure this wok, now that's something you only do once. It only takes 30 minutes on top of your stove to do that when you get it home. You'll find that nothing will stick to it very easily. In fact, while you're messing about with Brillo pads, detergents, and scouring powder, our Chinese housewife is getting into the kitchen and also getting out of it again as quickly as possible. Now, if we were doing this in China proper, we would finish off with an old cloth or a rag. Now, this is not China. We know very well where we are here. Paper towels to the rescue, the quicker picker-upper. In the same way as those old iron skillets, the more we use this wok, the darker it's going to get. The darker it's going to get, the better it's going to cook. Now, that dark coating is so important in cooking, it's almost pure carbon. It's one of the finest and one of the toughest non-stick surfaces in the world, except you don't need special utensils with this one. Now, I just added a little dab of peanut oil to make it look nice. You don't have to do that part if you don't want to.